Is it the...
You've also got some.
Within seconds of stepping outside the Sunshine Plaza shopping complex in Roodepoort, west of Johannesburg, I'm surrounded by street vendors with a variety of wares. But today, I'm not interested in sunglasses or cell phone chargers.
Big rat problem in Roodepoort. For my rats and my cockroaches, I just bought a new house and they're everywhere. Okay.
I'm immediately shown the best solution on offer. Grey-black granules in a small, unmarked, clear plastic bag. The vendor is holding at least 50 little bags, but tells me that I would only need 4. Approximately 2 teaspoons worth of poison for my rat problem. It would cost me 20 rand for the lot. At this, other vendors draw closer. If I buy from them, they'll drop the price even more.
If you want men, I can give you discount. If you want it.
Aldicarb, also known as Halipirim or two-step, is a pesticide that has been banned in South Africa. Despite this, it is still readily and openly available on any street corner.
If you take an able-bodied person like myself, I weigh 80 kilograms. To kill me, you need 560 milligrams of the Aldicarb formulation. In other words, 1/10 of a teaspoonful will kill me within 20 minutes. That's how toxic this stuff is. It is very, very toxic to a human being. It is sold on the street corners primarily as a rodenticide. Okay, so people mixing with maize meal to kill rodents. But if you go deep undercover, you realize they sell it for suicides, sell it for homicides, they sell it to the syndicates to poison dogs because they wipe out entire dogs or all the dogs in the neighborhood, and then they come in and they do house breaks and they burgle, and it is used very often. I know for a fact in Johannesburg alone, there's 100 homicides per year we know of with Aldicarb, not even the rest of the country. The suicides are rife amongst young people, especially young people that develop HIV, and they become desperate, they don't see a future for themselves, so they commit suicide because the chemical is so available.
Cora Bailey is the director of Community-Led Animal Welfare, or CLAW, which operates an animal clinic on the abandoned Durban Deep mine west of Johannesburg. She says at least a third of the animals brought to the clinic have been poisoned with Aldicarb.
Last week we had 15 cases in a day, and those animals all require very intensive, expensive treatment. It's painful for them. Many of them that we're called to assist, we just don't get there in time.
And while this poison wreaks havoc on the animals of Durban Deep, Bailey has witnessed the effects on the human population too.
In our immediate community, we have very tragic cases. So yes, it's so readily available that obviously it would be used for other criminal purposes too, and a method for the really desperate to commit suicide. A 13-year-old youngster ingested the poison because he felt that suicide was the only way out. And the other was a young mother, the 7-month-old baby, committed suicide after a disagreement with her boyfriend, and sadly she passed away. You know, if those are just within 1 kilometer of our clinic, I hate to think what goes on elsewhere.
Sitting in a spacely furnished room, this woman wrings her hands and stares at the floor as her eyes fill up with tears.
Yeah, it's a problem because some people, they don't use it for areas. They use it for the people, you see. Because somebody can just buy a beer or food and can just put that poison for you. And it's very dangerous because it's very quick.
She knows the effects of Aldicarb too well. Years ago, a young mother that she regarded as one of her own children poisoned herself after adding the black granules to a tub of yogurt and feeding the mixture to her 3 young children.
You know, that day, it was on Sunday. I was at the church. They phoned me. They say, you know what happened? The mother, she gave the kids the poison and the kids, they die, you see. That was a small kid. Other one was 1 year and other one was 3 years. The third one is bigger, but the mother, she wasn't dead because they took him to the hospital.
That's common practice. Common practice. You must understand, in our current situation, the economy and the politics are in a very poor state, so people become desperate and there's no money for them. So the way out is to commit suicide. So they first kill their children and then they wipe themselves out. And unfortunately, because you can buy Aldicarb at every street corner, they know about this. They know the word two-step, which means you take the stuff, you walk 2 steps and you're dead. They take it. It is horrific what happens with Aldicarb in our country.
While the woman in question served her prison sentence, the family was struck by another Aldicarb tragedy.
He was 20, was a boy. Just go and buy that poison and go on top of the mountain and drink that poison. They didn't get enough chance to take him to the hospital because the paramedics, they are busy helping him. The poison was already locked in the stomach. And after that, the boy, he died.
But what can be done to keep Aldicarb off the streets? Both Bailey and Verdoorn agree that consumers should never buy unmarked poisons from street vendors and that community education is key.
The sad fact is that there's very little policing around this. An illegal substance being sold to anyone who wants it. I mean, children can buy it. It's openly displayed for sale. It would be really, really simple if bylaw enforcement took their job seriously, because this is causing so much misery and so many deaths. There's no vendor that is not aware that it's illegal.
In the rural areas, it is used to poison wildlife, especially carnivores like jackals and caracal, stray dogs, and very often also lions, leopards, elephants. That goes into the mooti trade and to ivory smuggling and rhino smuggling. So it's a very wide berth of stuff where Aldicarb being misused for. It's a chain of events, crime events that are happening. In the end, if you don't investigate the dark poisoning and somebody gets murdered, it's because somebody didn't investigate the dark poisoning. So I think my attitude is the police have a job. We as citizens don't have the epaulets, we don't have the uniforms, we are not law enforcement officers. That's why we have a police force, to make sure the crime is investigated, the crime is stopped. And our response should be, if we have a dark poisoning, it must be reported, there must be a case number, the police must follow up and make sure they apprehend the criminals. It's going to take an effort. It's not my problem, it's their problem.
Bailey agrees that communities and police need to work together if this battle is to be won. After all, she says, it's not just animals that are at risk.
If you think about it, the numbers of children wandering about can easily gain access to that meat too. It will be just as tempting to a toddler as it would to a dog.
I've had many cases where children eat this stuff and they die within a couple of hours after eating it. So it's not just the case of the suicide attempts and homicide attempts. It's also a secondary effect of the dark poison which kills people. So in terms of people, we don't exactly know how many people are poisoned. I can tell you it is literally hundreds per year in South Africa.
Bailey and Verdoorn say one should never buy unmarked poison off the streets and urge communities to report vendors selling suspected banned substances to the nearest police station. I'm Jamaine Krige in Johannesburg.